For several years in the late 1970s into the early 1980s, this guy had all the makings of a superstar. He was consistently improving as a home run hitter and an on base percentage leader, especially in the postseason. But personal demons and bad choices put him in jail for years, and what he could have done in baseball, especially when he moved on to Toronto, would have been stellar. But sometimes people make bad choices, and he's admitted himself he should have put himself in a better path. But he's revised his life, and he's trying to do his best out of jail after so many years in jail. So we're talking about the talented and the very, very troubled at times Willie Mays Aikens. Now, this former pro baseball first baseman played in MLB for the Angels, Royals, and Toronto Blue Jays between 77 and 85. Most noted for his 4 home runs in the 1980 World Series against the Philly, where he had an on base percentage through the roof. I think it was 1,700 or, 54% with 8 walks in the series. At the time, he had established himself as one of the top sluggers of the game before drugs derailed his career. In '94, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison on 4 counts of crack cocaine distribution and 1 count of use of a firearm during drug trafficking. He was released some 14 years later on June 4, 2008, after changes in federal drug laws, and is sometimes cited as an example of the results of the bad, attempt to stem the drug trade via mandatory maximum sentencing in drug-related cases. Now, he grew up in poverty in the Bruce Hill community of Seneca, South Carolina. He was a standout athlete in baseball, football, and basketball at Seneca High School and attended historically black Southern Carolina State University on a baseball and football ride. When SC State dropped baseball after Aikens' freshman year, Willie McNeil, Aikens' high school baseball coach, helped him catch on with a semi-pro summer baseball league in Baltimore. While playing there, he caught the attention of Angels scout Walter Yost and was selected by the Angels with the number 2 overall pick in a January '75 MLB draft. A natural talent, like I said, a beautiful, beautiful swing, good contact hitter. Aikens soon emerged as one of the top sluggers in California's farm system, hitting a league-leading 30 home runs and 117 runs scored for the El Paso Diablos in '76. He began the '77 season at the Angels AAA affiliate in Salt Lake City, where he hit 14 home runs and was a strong .336 batting average. He was called up the Angels' major league roster at the end of the minor league season in September, where in 91 at-bats in 42 games, he had a very unimpressive .198 and failed to hit his first major league home run. Now he returned to his struggling ways in '78, batting .326, batting .326 with 29 homers and 110 runs batted in for the PCL Salt Lake City Gulls. He returned to the majors in '79, assuming DH duties and replacing Rod Carew at first in June-July, while Carew was out with a thumb injury and was very productive. He batted .290 with 21 home runs and 81 RBIs in his rookie season. Now, the Aikens season, again, was quite interesting because this was what he called the free agent years for California. And for some reason that year, I think he was injured. He didn't play in the playoffs that year. So it's kind of interesting why he ended up again not in the postseason. Now at this time, California was very high on Aikens, and we didn't know he was going to stay with the team because he was going to sign either a strong contract or move on to another team. So we don't know exactly why '79 playoffs didn't work out for him, and if anybody can fill that in, I really appreciate it. To my memory, I don't know he was injured or they didn't find room for him in that short season. But in the offseason, the Angels traded Aikens and Rand Smolniks to Kansas City Royals for Al Counts and Todd Cruz at the winter meetings on December 6, '79. Craig Eaton was sent back to California to complete the transaction 4 months later. Aikens inherited a first base job upon his arrival at Kansas City, despite not being a good fielder. At the time, he committed a league-leading 12 errors in 1980. Recovered from knee surgery, he got off to a slow start, but hit well in the second half of the season. He finished second to George Breton team in both home runs and RBIs with 20 and 98, respectively. The Royals won the division by 14 games to face the Yankees in the ALCS for the third time in 4 years. After having coming up short in 76, 77, and 78, the Royals swept the Yankees in 3 games in the 1980 American Title Series to face the Phillies in the World Series. Now, Aikens became a household name and hero when he hit 2 home runs in Game 1 and Game 4 of the 1980 World Series. He was, until Chase Utley accomplished the same feat in 2009, the only player in World Series history to hit 2 home runs in the same game twice during the same World Series. He also collected the game-winning RBI in the 10th inning of Game 3, the Royals' first ever win of a World Series game. Aikens batted 400, but the Royals lost the World Series in 6 games, mainly because the Phillies had home field advantage. Now, he led the Royals in both home runs and RBIs in the strike-shortened 81 season. His Royals returned to the postseason, but were swept by the Oakland Athletics in the divisional series. For his part, Aikens batted .333, 3 for 9, and also reached base 3 times via bases on balls. However, he failed to score or drive in any runs, but he was getting on base quite often. Now, Aikens batted over 300 for the first time in his career in 83, only to see his career rapidly begin to decline afterwards. Toward the end of the 83 campaign, Aikens and several of his Royals teammates were questioned by U.S. Attorney Jim Marquez in connection with a federal cocaine probe. This was before the Pittsburgh drug trials. Following the campaign, Aikens, Jerry Martin, and Willie Wilson pled guilty to attempting to purchase cocaine, while former teammate Vida Blue pled guilty to possession of 3 grams of cocaine. Aikens, Blue, Martin, and Wilson were all sentenced to 3 months in prison. Now, I saw Vida Blue pitch in Toronto in the summer of 83. There was no indication that Vida was using, because he was basically too focused on his career at the time. Now, ironically, shortly after his November sentencing, Kansas City gave up on him. They traded him to the Blue Jays for DH George Orta. Aikens was originally suspended by Baseball Commissioner Boy Kuhn for a year, but following a May 15, 84 review, he was reinstated. In 93 solid games, Aikens hit 11 home runs and drove in 26. Now, the Blue Jays released Aikens a month into the 85 season and re-signed him to a minor league contract. In his final Major League at-bat on April 27th, Aikens hit a pinch-hit 2-run homer in the 9th to tie the ball game, and the Jays won the game in the 10th inning. Nevertheless, Aikens was let go, and despite a healthy .311 batting average and 16 home runs with the Syracuse Chiefs, he never returned to the majors. He played 4 games for the New York Mets AAA affiliate, the Tidewater Tides, in 86 before heading to Mexico to join the Mexican Pacific League's Huaki de Obregon. Now, Aikens played for 6 years in the Mexican League, was a regular among the league's top hitters. He batted .454 in 86, one of the highest single-season averages in pro baseball history. He also played for the Pericos de Puebla from 86 to 87, Charro de Jalisco in 88, Bravos de Leon from 89 to 90, and Industrial de Monterrey in 91. He also played winter ball in the Mexican Pacific League, doing so with the Yaquis and the Vendos de Mazatlan from 86 to 89. In 2012, Venados de Mazatlan retired his number. Now, Aikens was eventually called to testify in the Pittsburgh drug trials of Curtis Strong as his major league career was winding down. His legal problems continued after his retirement, culminating has been found guilty of selling 50 grams of crack cocaine to an undercover police officer and sentenced to 20 years and 8 months in prison in 94. Now, by that time, Aikens had developed a heavy cocaine habit, and by his own admission was constantly using the drug from 91 to 94. Supposedly, a former lover tipped off the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department that Aikens was selling narcotics at his home. Consequently, in December 93, the police put Aikens' condominium under surveillance. The police observed numerous individuals entering Aikens' home and then exiting after a brief stay. On December 8, 93, an undercover police officer named Ginger Locke approached Aikens standing in the garage of his condo and asked for directions. After Aikens gave Locke directions, he told her that he was listening to the phone book and asked her to call him sometime. Locke called Aikens numerous times in order to establish a rapport with him. On January 18, 94, he called Aikens and told him she had loaned her car to a friend and that the friend had been caught with some stuff, referring to crack cocaine. In the car, Locke's story initiated a discussion about narcotics. Eventually, Aikens let Locke know that he could get her all the stuff she wanted. Now, later that day, Locke drove to Aikens' home and asked him if he could buy an 8-ball, an eighth of an ounce of cocaine. Aikens asked Locke if she wanted her cocaine hard in crack form or soft in powder form. She replied that she wanted it hard. Aikens pointed to some crack cocaine sitting on an ottoman in the den and indicated that he did not have a full 8 ball of crack on hand. He told Locke that he would have to make some more. Using equipment which he kept in his den, he quickly proceeded to make crack by mixing powder cocaine with baking soda in a glass beaker, pouring water on it, heating it with a handheld torch, baking it in a microwave, and then rinsing it with cold water. Aikens weighed some of the crack that he had made, along with some of the crack which he already possessed, on the dial-a-gram scale, and sold it to Locke for $200. Now, on January 24, 1994, Locke visited Aikens' home to buy more cocaine. Aikens had Locke drive him to his supplier's Kansas City home, where he used Locke's money to purchase powder cocaine. On the way back to Aikens' home, Aikens had Locke stop at stores where he could buy beakers and baking powder. When Aikens and Locke returned to Aikens' home, he converted the powder cocaine into crack and sold the crack to Locke. On January 28 and February 23rd, Locke returned to Aikens' home and arranged to buy more crack. On each occasion, Aikens called a supplier and had Locke accompany him while he obtained powder cocaine. On each occasion, Aikens converted the powder into crack upon returning to his home and sold the crack cocaine to Locke. In total, Aikens ended up selling about 2.2 ounces to the undercover cop. Now, is this worth 20 years in jail? Well, this under U.S. law. He was arrested on March 2nd, 1994, and after a March 17 mistrial, arrest and mistrial 15 days later, a grand jury indicted Aikens on 4 charges of crack cocaine distribution in violation of 21 U.S.C. on March 25th. Because of the tougher federal guidelines for crack, he was sentenced after he had sold 15 pounds of powder cocaine. He received a maximum sentence of 15 years and 8 months and received an additional 5 years because he allegedly had a loaded gun in the room where the drugs were sold. Very, very unfair case, of course. Now, he served his prison sentence in the United States Penitentiary in Atlanta and was scheduled to be released in 2012. He was released on June 4, 2008, 3 months after Congress approved new guidelines in the federal drug laws and made them retroactive. Hal McRae, the former Royals teammate with whom Aikens corresponded while in prison, set Aikens up with a job in road construction, working in manholes. Since his release, Aikens has turned his life around and spoken at schools about his experience and to the Royals' young players, always hoping to return to baseball. In November 2008, he apologized to Royals fans and the people of KC and the Kansas City Star. Now, on February 1st, 2011, the Royals announced that he hired Aikens as a minor league coach who would be based at the franchise's complex at Surprise, Arizona. The employment was delayed when his wife, Sarah, suffered a stroke, believed to be a complication of lupus. Now, Aikens has 3 daughters, Nicole and Sarita with Sarah, and Lucia from a previous relationship. Now, did Willie Mays Aikens deserve 20 years in jail? No. Did he deserve to be put in the rehabilitation center, maybe serve a 6-month to 1 year thing? The pressures of the game brought this on him. And like I said, not saying celebrating his talents was an excuse, but I mean, people have done worse and got less. I don't think Willie Mays Aikens should have served that 20 years in jail. He basically was someone that was one of the most talented players in MLB history in the 1970s and 80s, and just bad decisions. His biggest enemy was himself. 20 years in jail wasn't going to change that. So, I mean, he should have been more lenient. Friggy, in the current laws, I think at one time it was up to 25 years for crack, so third strike rule anyway. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of Willie Mays Aikens, one of my favorite players with Kansas City and the Blue Jays back in the day. A very, very unique-looking man, too. Very handsome, but very rugged. He could have been a movie star. Nice-looking guy. Anyway, if you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And don't forget, the people who have been supporting the channel, we really appreciate it. We got almost 50,000 hits in the month of January so far, so keep up the good work. Bye.